Q and asked what happened to him and if he was still alive. This officer told her that he's not just alive. The Q was in good health. At the City Defense Army exclusive prison, Q was held and admitted inside. This old man had been observing our MC's behavior for a while now. This guy reported that Q had already confessed about his attack towards the Kaijang investment company. But the only information they got after that was his name. Other than that, they don't know anything about this guy. It's as if he just appeared out of nowhere. There's also no government files that were related to him. The only person he was related to was Zixi. They asked this girl and they found out that these two met inside the secret realm. They then related his identity towards the mysterious infiltrator of the secret realms. The old man really found Q mysterious. He then asked about Zixi's identity. He found out that Zixi was just a level 2 healer and that her father served the military as a level 5 professional. It was also reported to him that Zixi's sister was caught from the disaster that hit the Da City a long time ago. This girl revealed to them how she met Q. She told them that her party was about to conquer a secret realm, but then Q appeared from the portal. Her statement was also consistent from the other party members that survived the realm. This commander also found out that Q attacked the Kaijang investment company because they had been harassing Zixi's family into selling their property to them. After this director entered the room. He told the commander that it's now their time to talk to Q personally. Commander Jiang was a level 7 professional and the director was at level 6. These two were considered to be the strongest in Da City. The door to Q's room opened. The commander immediately saw Q's look, but then he noticed that our MC was not looking at him. He was looking at the badges on his cloak. The commander then sat down and started his interview. He told Q about the consequences for the crime he just committed. Q could be sentenced to death or he could be enlisted to the battalion's front lines to atone his sins. Q will only get his freedom back after serving and surviving these battles in the battlefield. But as far as anyone knows, this was just like serving someone a death sentence. No one had ever survived on the front lines. As for our MC, fighting monsters in the front lines was not really a punishment. He had been doing this all his life in his past identity as a hero. The commander noticed something about Q's statement. He asked Q if he had experience being in the front lines and Q answered yes. The director and the commander exchanged looks. They knew that there's really something mysterious about Q. If what he was saying was true, they could have known Q's identity. Because there were only a few people that could survive that situation. The commander then told Q that the director and him had also been in the front lines. The commander had served the front lines for 10 years and the director was considered as a veteran in this field. The only ones who served more than them were Mask and the first group of heroes. The commander even showed Q his Mask medal as a proof. And since Q knew the feeling of fighting in the front lines, he should have known that he should not have done this crime in the first place. These kinds of situations could easily crumble the peace that they have been establishing for decades. Q had also been entering the secret realms without any government notice. This was really a huge deal because it could destroy their security's image. But with all these explanations, Q kept quiet. He didn't say a single word to these two. The commander then told him that since he was too uncooperative, they can't do him a favor now. But this old man still hopes that Q will eventually cooperate with them because once he's been transferred to the federal capital prison, the officers there will not give him this treatment anymore. Q knew about the federal capital and he thought that he would like to visit that place again. But right now, it was a little bit impossible. Our MC just received a new mission. It's about the Great Ghost's reincarnation. It has been a few years since that disaster struck Da City, and the Great Ghost was not completely defeated. It now threatens its reincarnation from the bodies of the radiation blast it made last time. Our MC's main mission was to defeat the new calamity that was about to be born again, and his reward was its core. This was a form of the Great Ghost, or also known as the Great Obscenity. This monster was at the calamity level, meaning its powers were as strong as the level 7 to 13 professionals. Q already knew about the upcoming revival of this monster way back when he defeated it. That's why he told the government back then to monitor all the people who were affected by its radiation. Q really worked hard back then, and all he wanted was to maintain peace throughout the world. He was being transferred to all places just to save them from different calamities. But that day when he saved the people in Dawes City, all that he received was verbal harassment. He came in 10 minutes late, and that was enough for the people to hate him. They called him names and told him that he's not grateful enough to the people who had put him in that position. This was the ugly truth about humanity. But every single time, Q faced all of the hate and still asked for forgiveness. This time, it's different. He doesn't need to be a hero anymore. Mankind was just too much. Q thought that it doesn't really matter now if people live or not. He doesn't care anymore. Meanwhile, these two were still wondering if Q really experienced being on the front lines. But the old man told him that in all of his experience, he hasn't seen anyone with that kind of strength. Commander Jiang knew this because of the way he killed those people in the building. He knew that Q was an expert in all combat techniques. It's like he cultivated multiple classes all at once. The director then asked the commander if Q was one of the geniuses in their lifetime. There were very few people who could achieve that kind of strength. This old man then told him that Q may be a genius, but he was also a dum-dum to sacrifice his freedom just to get Kaijiang Investment Company. They were not worth it. The judgment for Q was up to the Federation again. The same people who were behind Mask's trial. This was the federal government capital called Star City. This was built after humanity survived the Dark Ages. This city was considered as the symbol of humanity's revival, and right now, it has reached the future science fiction kind of state. And at one of the offices in this city, these congressmen were panicking and arguing about something. It's Yao again, and he's looking at the report handed to him. This was Q's crime report. He thought that this young man really has a talent, but this man still wants to punish Q for his actions. He said that this could be a greater danger to society. As for the real reason why he wanted our MC to be punished, Kaijiang Company was one of his cash cows in Dawes City, and he needed to do this to show his power to those other companies who were under his protection. Yao then decided to send Q to the monster retreat and take him into the front lines. This man was still not satisfied with this verdict. He needed Q to be executed in public. He's worrying that his lackeys would turn their backs against him. But then Yao changed the topic of the meeting. He's annoyed because no one has ever located Mask since his disappearance from that trial. The room suddenly went silent. It's now the modern times. Someone could easily locate him and report them immediately to news outlets or to anyone. But still, there's still nothing about Mask. Little did Yao know that Mask was already in front of him, but under a different identity. The other congressmen inside the room were trying to calm their leader down. They told him that Mask had no more powers now, and that's Yao's point. If this was true, Mask couldn't instantly disappear in the courtroom. This guy then said that maybe that's just from the little power he had left. This was also the propaganda that they have been feeding the people for the past few days. And this move had decreased the supporters of Mask significantly. Yao calmed down as he assessed the situation. Right now, he's the most powerful man in this federation. After that, Yao still told them that they still need to find Mask just for their peace of mind. The next topic they needed to address was the increase of monsters in the front lines. This month, it had a 32% increase. Yao realized the importance of Mask in these kinds of situations. Without him, they will have a hard time killing the monsters. This guy then asked them if they had pushed too far about their verdict in Mask's trial. This ticked Yao because it was like someone questioned their collective decision. Yao then proceeded to vent out his frustration. He asked these congressmen if they all think that humanity will not survive without Mask. And to address this current problem, he ordered to reduce the troops present in each city to reinforce their power in the front lines. This guy said that that was not a good idea. The troops in each city were deployed there in case a calamity emerged. And if they do this redeployment, it will affect the defense of these affected places. But someone made a comment that he was just against this move because that man was in charge for supplying weapons to the guards, and thus their argument started. But none of them could oppose He Yao's decision, and it was final. There had been no major calamity in these cities for years, and he's confident that they could manage these dangers now. As for Q, He Yao wanted him to be sent to the capital, at the Da City Defense Force building. Zixi was done cooperating with these officers. She had done this to save Q, but there's really nothing she could do. But Chan Liu can't accept this situation. Q was charged for a major crime, and these sisters will serve as the key witnesses for his trial. Chan Liu told this lady officer that this was just unjust. Q only punished those who were considered as scams of Earth. She then explained that even if that's the case, killing was still considered wrong. This little girl exclaimed that those who were killed were not even good citizens. Those guys destroyed thousands of lives. Commander Jiang overheard their conversation and he butted in. He told Chan Liu that she's right about those guys, but even if they deserve the things that happened to them, Q still has no rights to do such things in his own hands. Chan Liu then asked him why the government didn't act when they already knew that these kinds of things were happening. This old man told her that sometimes there's darkness that can't be dispelled by light, and that there will always be a need for sacrifices. Chan Liu implied that it's not that they chose not to dispel darkness. It's just that they cannot. Commander Jiang told her that her personal rebellion was unjust, and she can't accept this statement. She shouted that the very existence of this world was a mistake. Zixi could only stare at her sister at that moment. They decided that they should just go home after that. Commander Jiang thought that if only Chan Liu could stand, she could then use her resentment to exterminate the monsters in this world. After some time, they arrived at their home. Zixi left Chan Liu alone as she still needs to clean their yard. Zixi will also try to find some solutions to help Q, but this girl had something else in her mind. She still can't accept how the real world works. She decided that if there were places that light can't reach, she'll be the beacon of this said light. Chan Liu managed to stand up once again. She was also able to take a few steps. Meanwhile, Zixi was still busy cleaning up, and then she saw her sister. This shocked Zixi because her sister had stood up, but something seemed off. Vines started to come out from Chan Liu's arms, and she asked her sister to start running. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the security department, these guys were arguing because the notice on reducing their police force just came in. Commander Jiang personally set this meeting to tell it to them and ask for their ideas. But then he felt something. Commander Jiang was familiar with this aura that he just felt. He's sure that this aura was from the Great Ghost. These officers began to panic. They even asked their commander if he's not wrong. They thought that this calamity was defeated a long time ago. This old man then broke the glass in their office. He ordered his men to immediately evacuate all the people out of the city and activate the emergency military plan. Meanwhile, at the busy street of Da City, things were going as usual. This man even noticed the spring because of these flowers. He thought that the spring came too soon, but these flowers started to bloom not because of spring. These plants released their pollen to the air. This bee got attracted and it was about to land on them. As soon as it touched the flower, it transformed. This guy's friend told him that it's now time to cross the street. But as he turned his head to his friend, something was already wrong. This guy just grew plants inside his body. His friend shouted and it alerted everyone near him. And this was the start of the disaster. One by one, people were turning into these plant monsters. This professional then came into the rescue. People started cheering for him. They thought they were now safe. This hero wielded his weapon and let out a huge slash. His attack managed to cut this huge pile of petals. It looked like he had killed the monster. But then his arms turned into vines as well. This monster that they were facing got this infectious pollen. And just by looking at this calamity, they already knew that this was a great obscenity. These officers were already on the move to stop this thing. Some of them even thought that this was not the great obscenity because instead of the bodies being rotted or disintegrated, they were turning into plants. Commander Jiang then told them that this phenomenon was called human flowers. He also warned his team that they should not underestimate these monsters because they could turn into more dangerous creatures. He ordered them to secure all the streets nearby and make sure that no one else will be infected by this monster. His team quickly went to their respective positions and carried out his order. At this street, people were still running because some of the human flowers were already devouring them. Commander Jiang shouted at them and ordered them to get on the ground. He took a deep breath and did a fireball jutsu. This old man could use fire magic, and he just used a powerful one. The whole street got caught up in his attack. The human flowers were burnt, but it didn't stop the pollen from infecting other people. Commander Jiang then noticed that this monster really indeed has the same infection power as the Great Ghost. In just a few hours, Da City was nearly turned into ruins. The whole city was already enveloped with plants. The director even thought that this place was like a green hell. The soldiers were already struggling keeping off the vines. Commander Jiang also told his men to give up using their firepower towards these things as they were not being affected by it. Even a small debris from the body of these human flowers could infect a lot of people. The director then met up with this old man. He then confirmed that this calamity was really the Great Obscenity. The director was present when it attacked this city last time. The only reason that could explain its second coming was immortality. Commander Jiang told the director that there were some monsters that have this trait, but just like those demons who were being reborn, this monster would still need a lot of time to regain its full strength. The form that the Great Obscenity used this time was also different from its past form. Last time, it was all about destruction. Now, it's more like saving the planet from humans. The director also remembered something. He remembered that when Mask defeated this monster, he ordered the officials to make sure they could get rid of all the traces of this monster. These officials agreed to Mask's request, but as it turned out, they didn't do their end of the bargain. They even embezzled the money that Mask dedicated to the family of the victims. The director knew that this would not have happened if those officials did their responsibilities. Commander Jiang told him to just report this to him later because right now, they have more important things to do. He then asked his team where the strongest fluctuation of energy was coming from. The director already knew what this old man was trying to do. He intends to try and stop the monster all by himself. Commander Jiang told the director that he needed to do this while the monster was still weak. Right now, it hasn't even reached level 9 to 10. This was their only chance to defeat this all-powerful calamity that could wipe out mankind if it reached its peak power. If he delayed this any longer, the damage would also be massive. The director knew that there's nothing he could do to stop his boss. He then told him to just be careful. Meanwhile, at Star City, people started to receive the news about what's happening in Da City. It was immediately broadcasted and the reporters said that a calamity-level monster really attacked the city. The current state of the city was also being broadcasted live. Some of the people commenting were already looking for the hero they betrayed. They were kinda expecting that Mask would appear and save the day. Some of them also posted pictures on social media. After a while, new development had been reported. There's some news that Commander Jiang was already fighting the Great Obscenity. With his command, they were slowly turning the tide against these monsters. This was the live feed that was being broadcasted throughout the country. People could see Commander Jiang being chased by these huge vines. But then he suddenly stopped moving. Turns out, this old man reached his destination. He found the main culprit behind this disaster. He quickly recognized the face of this monster. This was the one who's responsible for all of these. The sister of Zixi, Chan Liu. Commander Jiang then told her to stop pretending. She's even using her majestic appearance to make people worship her. In the earlier days of the fight against monsters, there were also monsters who pretended to be God. They fooled the people and they started worshipping these false prophets. The director tried contacting his boss. He told him that the monster in front of him was the reincarnated form of the Great Ghost. Chan Liu was already gone. Commander Jiang didn't expect that just after a few hours from the time they met, she would transform into this very disaster. Chan Liu asked him if he regrets it, and as for the answer of this old, it was quite clear. He started gathering his power and shouted that he regrets that he didn't kill her at that time. Commander Jiang then made his move. He dashed towards Chan Liu. With his lightning speed, he quickly reached the monster. He was able to land a clean hit. The reporters covering this battle were impressed by his powers. They thought that Commander Jiang defeated the monster with just one attack. But as he turned his head around, he knew that his attack did nothing. Chan Liu started to regenerate. She told Commander Jiang that this was useless. After a few seconds, this monster had completely recovered. The reporters were also shocked. They didn't know what was really happening. The old man continued to attack again. He sent these lightning punches towards Chan Liu, and all of them landed. But because of her high-speed regeneration, his attempts were in vain. She asked the commander if this was the sunlight that could dispel darkness he was talking about last time. Commander Jiang suddenly felt the bloodlust around him. He immediately tried to gain some distance between them. But as he was still thinking about the immense danger he felt, he heard a voice behind him. He tried fleeing again, but the moment he stopped, Chan Liu was already behind him. This monster then started to make fun of the light that he was so proud about. He can't do anything about the power of this monster. He was clearly outclassed. Commander Jiang has nowhere to go, because this monster could just teleport its body as long as there were plans to present. The director then told his boss that he needs to retreat for now. This match was too much even for him. He suggested that they should just launch a large-scale attack to destroy the whole area. But the commander told him that there's no way he could escape this thing now, since he had nothing to lose. Commander Jiang took off his cloak. He held his mask badge again and smiled. It reminded him of something. Chan Liu praised him because he didn't give up just yet. And by the looks of it, this old man became more powerful than before. The blue lightning around his body turned red. This was his last desperate move. A huge red lightning then hit his body. The old man was trying to overload his body with elemental attributes to boost his abilities even more. But all of the people knew that this technique has its consequences. It could take one's life after using it. Chan Liu also knew about this phenomenon, and she praised him again because he just reached level 8 power with this move. The only downside was the cells all over his body were being overloaded with energy. And because they still can't handle it, cells were being destroyed eventually. But this old man doesn't care about all that anymore. With his improved speed, he dashed towards Chan Liu again. She thought that this was useless because she could just teleport herself instantly. But before she could even process her thought, her body was almost disintegrated. The old man was now faster than her thinking speed. With this, the old man was also running out of time. The cells in his body were already being destroyed. He's also experiencing a lot of pain in the process. This reporter was now happy again because he thought that Commander Jiang had finally defeated the monster. But this was not true. The energy coming from the Great Ghost had not yet disappeared, and instead, it's steadily growing. The director then informed his men that this monster was not the Great Obscenity. He then told them about the creature named Antaeus. He was from the Dark Ages of the Greeks, and this creature was said to be invincible as long as the earth stands. And he concluded that this creature was Antaeus itself. It already got its powers from the people it absorbed, and as long as someone didn't eliminate it completely, it can't be defeated at all. The monster exists in all these vines and plants it created. She's one, but also 10,000. But his lackeys still didn't understand what their boss was telling them. A new emergency alert was then shown to them. The energy of this monster was rapidly increasing. It even reached the highest Red Secret Realm energy. Chan Liu had become a level 9 monster, and she was still growing stronger. Back to these two. Chan Liu can't believe that humans could reach this kind of power just by sacrificing themselves. Once in her life, she also dreamed of becoming strong enough to protect the weak ones. She then asked Commander Jiang why he didn't use his power to protect those who were left in the dark. Professionals have left them hanging right when they needed them the most, and it made Chan Liu even furious. This was her constant question to the world. All of the human flowers and the vines around the city then retreated. They were now gathering towards a single point. Chan Liu has reached a new form. She's now as tall as the buildings around her. Commander Jiang appeared again and was about to answer her question. With all of his strength in his hands, he told her that it was because of this world. It was a world that made him accept that death was nothing new. With all his might, Commander Jiang attacked using his red lightning. Chan Liu thought that she could easily block this attack using one of her hands, but that was not the case. Commander Jiang managed to pass through. The people all around the country were watching his battle. They started cheering as soon as they saw that his attack went through. Chan Liu was still trying to stop this old man's attack, but after a while, the power that made him somewhat invincible started to fade. It's time for Commander Jiang. She now got him in her hands. She told him that since he told her that being dead and alive were nothing new to this world, he could now go to hell. Commander Jiang had this final look on his eyes, and then he was gone. He was turned into these petals that were now being swayed into the air. Chan Liu told him that this was what he got attempting the impossible. The director saw what happened. The energy of his boss also disappeared. As for those who were watching the live broadcast, they were all shocked, and it was at this moment they thought about the hero that they once took for granted. They were looking for Mask. It has been a month since he disappeared, and now they don't know what to do anymore. The reality had finally hit these pieces of sheets. Some of them now started bashing the ruling of their federal government. The most frequent question that arises again: where is Masker? Meanwhile, at this prison facility, alarms started to get off. They were alerted about the calamity-level monster that attacked the city. Q was in this place, and he was just waiting for the perfect time to act. As this was all happening, Yao was now in panic. He now can't even reach the heroes that promised to be under his command to protect the city. It's been 1.5 hours since the disaster happened and he's still got nothing. All the people around him were a bunch of scaredy cats. Someone then told Yao that he shouldn't have been that ruthless towards Mask in the first place, and this statement got him. Someone then suggested that they should just destroy the whole Da City once and for all. These guys were really too much. They were even proud about this idea of sacrificing a few for the sake of the many. Yao was now starting to see the true colors of these people. They don't care about the others at all. He can't believe that this was really happening. This guy broke the tension when he reported that there's something that changed the situation in Da City. Yao asked if someone sent a professional to save the city. But as the reports started coming, they heard this unusual thing. A monster had come to help the city. Back at the exclusive prison, this building had a huge slash now. The hole even reached the lower floors of the building. This guard was also in shock. He told his companion that he saw a monster coming out of the building. Back to the city, these soldiers were still guarding the area. They noticed that the human flowers were coming back again. Some of them started running because they knew that they didn't stand a chance against these monsters. But the rest still fulfilled their duty and tried defeating the human flowers. The captain of this squad was then getting absorbed by the vines. This guy tried saving his captain, but a black aura suddenly passed him. A series of slashes then destroyed the vines that's on its way. The soldier and his captain were now safe. Meanwhile, Chan Liu was still in her giant form. The reporters were about to retreat, but then something happened. This cameraman saw someone and thought that it was the reinforcements. A combination of red and black aura suddenly went straight into the center of the city. The people thought that this one was sent by the federal government. They hoped that this hero came sooner so that Commander Jiang didn't lose his life. This one has continued to slash his way towards the Great Ghost. But as people focused their attention on him, they saw his appearance. Our MC is now back and he's here to complete the quest that the system gave to him. He needs to defeat this calamity again, but with his monster form. Q quickly noticed something different between the past great obscenity and this present one. The last one represented destruction, but this one represented life. This new form intends to devour everything on its way. It also wanted to create a new world where there's no sadness and no pain. It's the newest form of ultimate evil. But regardless of what form this monster took, Q knew he still needed to defeat it. The core of this monster will help him fight the gods in the Void Realm. Our MC needs to do whatever it takes. Chan Liu then started her quest to conquer everything. She asked every living thing to go and merge with her. This monster has spread its vines once again. She has absorbed a lot of souls now. And she became one with them. But then, the orbs started to get popped one by one. And after a few moments, a large number of these orbs were gone. Chan Liu knew someone was killing her subordinates. She then saw this monster that was still slashing through her vines. Q had already recognized her face. The monster had manifested itself through Chan Liu. Regardless, our MC still ran towards her. Chan Liu didn't know that this monster was Q. She was also clueless what kind of monster this was. She tried getting rid of this monster off her. Q was just waiting for this opening. As soon as she raised her hand, our MC jumped. He performed 1,000 cuts. After this, he continued to approach her. These roses then appeared to stop Q. They explode as soon as someone gets near them. Luckily, Armak was fast enough to get past them. The cameraman continued on broadcasting this development to the public. This new monster was just too fast. This professional who was watching began to be scared. Every attack and explosion that this monster faced, it managed to dodge them. His speed, reaction time, insight, and agility were all out of the charts. The main reason why humans were still winning against the monsters was because they have the intelligence and wisdom. But now, a monster had emerged that showed the same kind of characteristics as a human. He's now worrying for the time when monsters will be able to surpass humans. Back to Q, he already got near Chan Liu. As he jumped towards her, he used one of his abilities again. The greatest monster that humanity will ever see just grew his pair of wings and was about to defeat the Great Ghost. He grew his own wings and this shocked Chan Liu. People were kinda confused because Q didn't use his wings immediately when those human flowers exploded. This professional then explained that this was a brilliant move because it was unexpected. This way, Q will have more chances of confusing the opponent. But these kinds of moves were also risky. Only those who were confident enough for themselves could try it in these kinds of battles. Our MC used the Blood Raven and slash into the air. It created this dark image of a bird that flew towards his opponent. It landed on its head. The cameraman was thrilled to see that Q's attack was effective. The human flowers who were running towards Chan Liu also stopped. This one thought that maybe this was the sign that they had won. But then these human flowers started talking. And they all have the same question. They were all asking who Q is. While recovering, Chan Liu also had the same question. After all, they were all connected to each other. She also asked this monster why he had the Blood Raven in his hands. Our MC didn't respond. Chan Liu then figured out that her opponent was also a monster. She then told him that the two of them didn't need to fight. The new form of the Great Ghost even offered her core to Q as long as they worked together. This is the core of the Great Ghost, and it can only be used by those who were recognized by this monster. Q thought that this offer was really tempting. Chan Liu continued to persuade Q to join her in destroying and cleanse the whole world. She told him that they could be the gap that this world needed. They could change everything. If there are places that can't be saved, they could just destroy and create a new one. This calamity really had a new perspective, but her mission was still the same. It was to destroy the world. The sound of thousands of human flowers echoed all over the place, and it was even felt by this cameraman up high. He's now worried because these monsters were now communicating to each other. Q kept quiet the whole time. Our MC had no intentions on working with anyone, be it with humans or with his fellow monsters. He only had one goal in his mind right now, and that's to kill all the monsters. Since he was not answering Chan Liu, she assumed that he disagreed. She then told Q that they should now decide who should stay in this world. Chan Liu made her first move. She used her explosion skill just like those human flowers. Our MC was able to block and protect his body against this. But then vines started to come after him. He got surrounded by it. Chan Liu just gained the upper hand this time. As soon as she recovered, she let out a loud scream. Meanwhile, our MC closed his gargoyle wings again, but he used the other form of it to destroy the vines around him. Chan Liu was about to shallow him. Luckily, he managed to dodge it. Q was also quick enough to go around her. He had already killed thousands of giants in his past life, and he knew where their weakness was. Somewhere in that huge body, They were hiding their true form, and since it was not inside their head, Q was sure where it was. Our MC continued to fly towards Chan Liu. He then used a blood raven again and slashed his way through this part. Vines kept on growing as they were trying to protect its main body. The Great Ghost even used its explosion skill again just to get rid of Q. Q was caught with this move, but he still persevered. He knew that this was his chance to defeat this calamity, and since it was really trying its best to protect this part, he knew this was the right spot. He kept on slashing his way through, and not long after, he saw something that was glowing inside. Q knew that this was it. He slashed the last layer, and then he saw this. It was the original body of Chan Liu. This girl purposely turned her body around, and the blood raven met her on. Chan Liu didn't expect this monster to do the impossible, but with his last attack, Q had no more energy left. He was already about to fall. The vines of this calamity monster stopped him from falling. She's now thinking what she should do about this monster in front of her. Chan Liu even praised Q for his handsome face behind his mask. Q didn't know what to feel. She then told him to just relax. She revealed that she already lost and she was just using her remaining energy to maintain this form. Since her huge body was still standing, the reporters thought that they had lost this battle. After that, he felt like his surroundings were shaking. Even the soldiers and civilians on the ground felt it. Then they saw this thing falling from the sky. It was a bright light and it's heading down towards the city. It's a nuclear bomb. This move was approved by Hiao. This was his last resort. In the back of his mind, he regretted this decision. Chan Liu and Q saw this and immediately thought that these monsters were really heartless. They were willing to give up the civilians here. She then decided to do the right thing before she died. She wanted everyone to realize something. Chan Liu wanted to show them what kind of people were those in the government. The same people who betrayed Masked. She then headed back to her huge form. All of the human flowers started to move again and they were all connected as one. Chan Liu grew more. She extended her arms. It is as if they were huge branches that will cover the city from all the danger. The civilians saw this. The calamity-level monster turned herself into this huge tree. She blocked the nuclear weapon that was about to heat the city. And then all that they saw was this bright light. The human flowers were also disintegrated. Q was also caught from the impact of this explosion, but Chan Liu managed to cover him in her vines. She still protected him at the last second. This happened a few seconds after the nuclear weapon hit the city. The soldiers also tried their best to protect everyone by deploying this massive shield. After that, the people realized something. This calamity monster that was supposed to kill all of them just protected them from their government. At the headquarters, these guys reported to the director that the energy from the Great Ghost has already disappeared. This shocked the director. He also addressed Commander Jiang and told his soul that Da City was secured now. His sacrifice was not in vain. These guys still can't believe what they saw. They were saved by a monster. The huge tree also started to split open. As it was disappearing, it released these beautiful petals throughout the city. This lady tried catching some of it and thought that this scene was pretty. Someone warned her about these petals because it can turn her into monsters. But nothing happened. She didn't get mutated. Meanwhile, Q was with Chan Liu. He held her in his arms. Chan Liu woke up and told Q that this was the first time she realized that spring was indeed beautiful. And then, she slowly disappeared as well. With this, the mission of our MC has been completed. He defeated the reincarnation of the Great Ghost, and as for his reward, the core of the Great Ghost was delivered in his hands. It was like a green heart. The core changed its form because it's also the heart of Chan Liu. Q then equipped this core into his body. He absorbed all of its power, and right after that, Q was transported somewhere. He vanished in the middle of the city. People were all happy as Da City's calamity was defeated, but as they all celebrated, these human flowers appeared once again. Then this happened. One by one, these humanoids turned into humans. These were all the people who were absorbed by the Great Ghost. These guys were amazed by what they saw, but then they slowly realized something. The human flowers that were killed by the nuclear weapon were all humans. With this, the propaganda of the government started once again. They spread misinformation on the internet. They even blamed Mask for this disaster. Some of these trolls even said that this move shouldn't have happened if Mask appeared right away. After that, all the information and news about this matter were deleted by the government. It is as if people were not allowed to voice out their opinions regarding this matter. These kinds of things were also happening in real life. It was really sad when we realized it. Meanwhile, these congressmen were back at it again with their meetings. They are now discussing the preventive measures they have taken with social media. They really made sure that people would still blame Mask for this disaster. He Yao was still silent about what happened. Turns out, this man really planned things through. They suggested the nuclear weapon to kill thousands in the city and use it to get He Yao's position. This guy then came in front and acted as He Yao's spokesperson. He then told everyone that all of the people present in the meeting agreed on that nuclear weapon. But the main problem was how they could turn this disaster into an opportunity. He's really planning to pin everything to Mask. This guy then butted in that this plan was impossible because Mask was not even present in the city. That same reason was what they will use to gain the vote of the people. They will spread news that implies that they were forced to do such a thing because Mask didn't come to rescue the city. He also wanted to add that after all the resources that humanity had given to Mask, he still didn't take the responsibility to act as their hero. This guy was really pure evil. He's an expert on ruining someone's image to make themselves look good. All the people inside the room were speechless. After that, He Yao and this man were left inside the room. He assured He Yao that everything was now under his control, but He Yao revealed that he was not worried about that. This incident made him realize that humanity was still not ready to take on the monsters. Their manpower was still lacking. He then asked this guy about the preparation of their new experiments called Morning Sun. This guy reported that after hundreds of attempts, they have now seen some successful subjects. Some of the bodies were able to maintain their monster forms for a long period of time. He told He Yao that sooner or later, their attempt to fuse humans and monsters will be successful. He also told his president that they will be the ones to ascend mankind into new heights. Soon, humanity will be able to reach everything, even the gods. This is the map where the battle between humans and monsters was happening. This vast lands area was up to millions square kilometers. It was also said that this made up part of Africa, South America, and all of Antarctica. This is where Mask was assigned last time. He led the people here. But monsters were coming everywhere. It was like their den, and thus, this place was called the birthplace of calamity. This was the source of all the monsters. The only man that opened this place again for humanity was Mask. He was able to withstand the wrath of the gods and even defeat them. Right now, this was the state of that place. These 4 men were waiting outside this portal in this dense forest. They were here because they had something to report to their captain. After a few seconds, a silhouette appeared in the portal. Their captain's power was too exceptional. This secret realm in front of them was a level 7 dungeon and their captain managed to clear it in just 30 minutes. This right here is their captain. And she's considered as one of the geniuses in this world. She asked her men why they all have weird expressions. This guy then proceeded to report to his captain. It's about the disaster that hit the Da city. She asked if the problem was resolved. It was resolved, but it cost them the life of her father, Commander Jiang. After hearing this, she walked out and told her team that they should go to the next realm now. All of them were left speechless. The death of her father seemed not to affect her with her mission. These men were all concerned about their captain's mental state. This lady could control lightning attributes freely, but her nickname was Immovable Ice. This was because of her cold emotions. Their captain heard them talking about her and scolded them. In these areas, secret realms spawns faster. Professionals like them don't have much time to rest. And this is why strong teams were assigned to clear more dungeons than everyone else. Captain Jian always clears the secret realm all by herself. But this time, these men asked her if she wanted them to come. They do have a point. They needed to fight as well so that they could get stronger. But these statements just made Captain Jian feel that they were just doubting her skills. Her team immediately backed off. She then went inside the portal all by herself. Instead of being annoyed about it, These guys praised their captain even more. It would take someone with a lot of mental state to accept that her father just died and still continued to hunt monsters. They viewed her more like the monsters that didn't have any motion at all. This is what's inside the secret realm. Captain Jiang just went in without any fear or hesitation. She stopped walking because she saw something. There were bodies of monsters in front of her and they were all defeated. She initially thought that these monsters were killed by a small team, but all of their wounds were inflicted by the same kind of weapon. This meant that they were all defeated by one person. Captain Jiang heard something ahead and she quickly dashed towards it. She then saw this huge humanoid shark that was ready to attack. These monsters were attacking this guy. Captain Jiang immediately knew that this guy was a low-level professional, but all of his movements were exquisite. Even if he had fatal injuries with him, he was still able to dodge, block, and counterattack all at the same time. This is where she thought she should come in. With her lightning speed, she appeared in front of the humanoid sharks. She was also able to defeat these monsters with just one hit, and after a few seconds, 3 monsters were already on the ground. Captain Jiang didn't waste any more time and asked this guy what team he belonged to, but she didn't get any response. The guy that was in this secret realm was RMC. After enduring this intense fight, Q's body gave up and he lost consciousness. Captain Jiang was a bit disappointed because she thought she found someone she could respect in terms of power. More monsters then started coming in. These guys were all high-leveled. She now didn't have any choice but to defeat these monsters. She wielded her spear and enveloped it with her lightning skill. Captain Jiang also remembered her father. He died fighting these monsters. This lady was furious because of what happened, and she channeled her outrage towards these monsters in front of her. Outside the portal, her men were still waiting for her. They were now starting to worry because their captain took a little longer to clear this dungeon. But then, the portal started reacting. This meant that their captain was coming out. Captain Jiang came out, but she was carrying another man on her shoulders. Her men quickly asked her what happened and who's this guy with her. Their team transported Q to this facility called N5. This is where professionals camped out and regrouped after their battles in the secret realms. There's also a high-end hospital here. Professional healers were somewhat rare. That's why those fully trained doctors were assigned here. Q was brought to this facility. His vitals were also all good. The doctor was also amazed at his recovery speed. His body received too much damage, but he still survived. If it were normal people, they would have died on the spot. Captain Jiang was told that Q's ability was too exceptional. Q's body was also filled with radiation. That's where he got the scar on his face right now. The doctor also advised Captain Jiang that they will monitor him further for the radiation, but as for his overall health, Q was out of danger. After that conversation, this man came in. This was the Supreme Commander of Army Camp N3. He was Liang Zhenghai. Captain Jiang immediately stood up. Commander Liang turned out to be her mentor. Commander Liang went to see Captain Jiang because he wanted to talk about her father. The government paid their special tributes to those who sacrificed for the sake of humanity. He told Captain Jiang that her father died honorably, but she didn't say anything. He then further consoled her. The media wanted to interview the daughter of the hero, but her mentor did her a favor and declined the offer. He told Captain Jiang that his father's decision was reasonable, and he would have done the same thing if he's the one in there. Before leaving, he told her that she should ask Q for some information about why he's inside the secret realm. This guy also noticed the sword that Q was wielding. He said that anyone who could use this sword was interesting enough. She then asked him about the sword, but then the commander already left the room. Right now, she has no choice but to wait for Q to wake up. After a while, Q opened his eyes. Q quickly scanned his surroundings. Captain Jiang felt something with his gaze. She backed out and held her weapon immediately. That brief moment was the first time she felt threatened by someone. After he assessed the situation he was in, Q calmed down. He told Captain Jiang that she can now remove the Roman 4 bag on him. Q sat down and asked her where he was. He found out that he's inside the N series of camps. He also introduced himself to her as she was the one who brought him out of the secret realm. After that quick small talk, The room was silent again. Their attention was now on the television. News outlets were back at it again with their propagandas against Mask. The government was still expecting Mask to do his responsibility as a hero. Jiang was somewhat satisfied with what's happening. She knew that the government was now restless because they were putting the blame on Mask again. She was also amazed about the fact that even if this hero was gone, he was still being targeted by these congressmen. Jiang told Q that even though she doesn't know his identity, he was free to stay here as long as he didn't create any trouble. She even praised Q's skills. But she made sure that she would be the one to face him in case she needed to. Our MC then answered that she will not be able to do it. He told her that she can't beat him. Captain Jiang got furious but kept quiet because she knew that his statement was true. She let this thing off. And since Q could even talk to her like that, she expects that this man could recover more quickly and get back to hunting monsters again. She told him that she doesn't really have that much time, so she will be onto her next secret realm. Outside the room, her team was waiting for her. They all asked for information about Q. These men were quite curious because Commander Liang personally went inside his room. They were also asking what team that man belongs to because this was the first time they've seen him. The only thing they got from their captain was the name of this strange man. They also noticed that their captain was annoyed after talking with Q. And speaking of the devil, Q came out of his room. They all told our MC that it was too soon for him to go. Q was already heading towards the secret realm. As for his true health conditions, the core of the Great Ghost was acting out. It still needed more time to settle in and it was demanding Q for more life force. Our MC needs to kill more monsters and absorb them to fully heal his body. Jiang's team was still trying to stop him from immediately going to the secret realm, but someone stopped them. It's Commander Liang. He told them that Q could do whatever he wanted to do. Clearing secret realms was beneficial to them after all, and since he's the commander in this camp, no one could oppose his decision. Our MC just stared at Commander Liang and this man did the same. It's as if they understood each other. The team of Captain Jiang was then divided into two. They will be following both Jiang and Q on their missions. Meanwhile, this lady was already at the gate of the camp. Her team caught her attention and told her that they were split into two. These two reported what happened with Q and Commander Liang. They were also confused because this was the first time they saw their commander having a friendly aura. Jiang confirmed that Q went out immediately as soon as he was able to stand up to clear the secret realms. Her expression changed after hearing this information. She then told her team to not worry because that man could take care of himself. After that, they went on their way towards their next dungeon. As for Q's team, the two men who joined him were already talking to him too much. They told Q a lot of things about their captain. They also asked Q if he has some special connection with their commander because he let him clear secret realms right away. He then told him that the two of them didn't have any connections. They then told Q some information about this legendary commander of theirs. They told him that Commander Liang has this sharp vision. He has a thing on seeing talents towards people and he could also use this vision to see in the dark. Commander Liang has also reached level 8 professional. Some even claim that he has what it takes to go to level 9. This man also managed to be with Mask in the front lines. Their team back then was called Repelling Monsters Army. And that's the one he got to fight with Mask. Q remembered the Repelling Monster Army. He wondered how many years it had been since. This specific mission was the one where no one recognized Q's ability to lead them. He led 3,000 professionals to the front lines. This was also the first time they managed to claim some lands from the monsters. This place back then was still overflowing with monsters. They were everywhere, and after losing countless lives fighting these monsters, the Repelling team managed to successfully build their first base in these vast lands. More bases were then built in these areas, all because Mask led them. They were also able to reduce the numbers of the monsters. This was also the era where the frontliners were born. After a while, Q's team had already arrived in front of the portal. These two who came with him were now excited because it has been a while since they got to enter a dungeon. Q turned his head and told them that they didn't have to help him with this. Like Captain Jiang, Q intends to clear this dungeon all by himself. Our MC went in and he was transported to this place. A strong smell of monsters met his nose. He was somewhat happy finding out that this secret realm was full of monsters, because with this, he could do whatever he wanted and kill every monster he sees. Q was then met with these wolf-like monsters. Our MC bravely walked towards them. He told himself something. Because his body hasn't really fully recovered, he could only maintain his monster form for 3 minutes. But this was more than enough to clear this dungeon. Q vanished from the visions of these wolves. The next thing they knew was that they were already slashed off. Q took out 4 of them in a flash, and then the bodies of these wolves started to turn to energy. These orbs were then absorbed by Q. This was the power of the Great Ghost. And right now, he was also able to use this overpowered skill. As long as he could absorb life forces, Q could heal his body. Meanwhile, these two were still waiting for Q outside the portal. They were even joking that if they went in, they would find Q's body lying around. They didn't think that Q was powerful enough to clear the secret realm. But then the portal started acting up. Our MC came out. He was safe and sound. He didn't even have a single wound. These two can't believe what they just witnessed. Q was able to defeat all the monsters inside the realm, including the boss. These monsters were so weak that he didn't notice that there was a boss monster inside. Q showed them the item drops from the boss. This will serve as his proof that he cleared the dungeon. Our MC cleared a level 5 secret realm in just 17 minutes. He was faster than their captain. Jiang's best clear time was about 30 minutes. This was a clear statement on just how powerful Q was compared to Captain Jiang. After that, Q told them that they should head to the next secret realm now. He cleared the next one immediately. Q didn't stop until they ran out of time clearing these realms. As for Captain Jiang's team, they arrived at this portal too late. Based on the footprints that they saw, someone has already cleared this dungeon. This was a 4th or 5th dungeon that was defeated even before they arrived. The only team that left the camp was the team of Q. And they thought that it was impossible for Q to clear this many dungeons in such a short period of time. This guy was somewhat annoyed because someone was beating them into clearing these dungeons. Captain Jiang told them that they really can't be bothered. She was even relieved because someone was helping them do it. But the truth is, she already wanted to know who was the professional that seemed to challenge her. At the army camp N3, all the professionals who cleared the dungeons were required to submit a report and turn away all the items they got from it. This way, it will be easier for them to turn these items into weapons. Professionals could also exchange the merits they were receiving to various rewards inside the camp. Captain Jiang and her team were back, and she saw this team that cleared 17 secret realms in just one day. The executive in charge was even arguing if this claim was true because it was nearly impossible. To prove this achievement to him, Q's team gave all the treasure rewards they got from it. Their bag was full of rare boss items and materials. This ended his disbelief. He can't just quickly believe this because even Captain Jiang didn't achieve something like this. This guy told him that these secret realms were all a piece of cake to Q. He was even appointed by the Supreme Commander himself. With this executive told Q that they want him to check and clear the level 6 secret realm near N1. This camp has already lost 2 teams within this realm. Our MC quickly accepted the mission. He then boasted again that Q will clear this dungeon in no time. After all, he was more powerful than Captain Jiang. As he said these words, the executive told him to look behind. Captain Jiang was standing right behind him, and she's not in a good mood. He then quickly tried to make an alibi to appease his captain. This guy also confirmed that the dungeons they went to were all cleared by Q based on the list they have submitted. Jiang asked Q if he did this all by himself, and our MC said yes. She praised him because he has the skills to back up his confidence in taking these realms. With her competitive attitude kicking in, she also asked the executive that she will be taking the level 6 secret realm mission as well. Captain Jiang formally challenged Q. Whoever kills the boss monster first will be the winner. After that, Jiang's team left. This bald man congratulated Q because he was successful in bringing out their captain's competitive side. RMC checked the details about the next realm he was about to clear, and he understood why they wanted him to take the lead with this one. He also remembered something about the past that was about to happen in the front line soon. As he was thinking about these details, this guy noticed something. He stared at Q's face and sword. They looked familiar. This guy finally remembered where he had seen Q before. Meanwhile, at the command center of Camp N3, Commander Liang just found out that the Shao Q they rescued in the secret realm was the same man that slaughtered the Kaijiang Investment Company. The one who reported it was this blonde guy. They were kinda confused because it's impossible for someone to travel from Da City to the front lines in just a day. But this blonde guy was sure about it. All of the features matched. The main deal breaker was the sword of Q. They were too identical and it was impossible to replicate that kind of sword. They also thought that maybe Q escaped the prison while the Great Ghost was attacking the city. Even if the travel time was impossible, he still believed that he's right. Commander Liang then concluded that after their mission tomorrow, he will personally meet Q and find things out for himself. As for this man, he ratted out Q because he wanted a promotion. The next day, Captain Jiang and her team were already in front of this portal. These guys were bugging their captain to let them help